Welcome. Settle in, let the day loosen its grip, and imagine yourself easing back through time, beyond cities and screens, past roads and fields, until the familiar landscape of now dissolves into a broad and quiet plain. It is the Ice Age. The air holds a pale light that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere, softly muted by drifting ice haze. Your breath unfurls as a thin cloud and fades. The ground is firm, a weave of frost and ancient grasses pressed flat by old winds. Nothing shouts here. Even the cold is quiet, deep and persistent, like a low note held for a very long time. Tonight, we will wander gently through this still world and learn why it asks so much of a human body. We will explore the hush of the cold, the scarcity of food, and the slow, patient movement of calories through a living system. Before we drift deeper, if you enjoy calm journeys like this, please like this video, subscribe for more sleepy science, and feel free to use the playlist link in the description to keep learning gently while you drift off. How sleepy are you on a scale of 1 to 10? You find yourself standing at the edge of a shallow valley. Snow lies in a thin layer, more powder than blanket, transparent enough for the color of the earth to show through in places. The wind slides over the land in long, even breaths that you can almost see in the bending of the brittle grasses. Above, the sky is wide and patient, a soft steel blue with a faint tint of rose along the horizon. The day moves at the pace of driftwood floating downstream. In the distance, forms like low hills ease along the ridge, a herd, unhurried, conserving energy without the drama of speed. Everything here favors slowness. Slowness is safety. Slowness is balance. Slowness is survival. In this cold, the air carries little moisture. Each breath is clean and spare, gentle on the lungs, but it steals heat steadily. Warmth moves away from your skin through 3 quiet roots. Some of it conducts into the air and into anything you touch. Some of it rides away on the wind, convection carrying your heat like a bird gliding down a slope. Some of it radiates outward as invisible light, the way a stone warmed by the sun glows softly in the dark if you could see beyond the visible. Each route is slow in any one moment, but the minutes add up. The body has its own small hearths working together in a steady chorus. Muscles at rest hum. The liver and brain work like banked coals under a thick layer of ash. Brown fat, tucked in discreet places, can kindle to a warmer tone when called upon. It is gentle, purposeful heat, not a bonfire, but a row of candles. You take a step, and the snow compresses with a sound like a small sigh. Moving is warmth, but moving is also a cost. In the Ice Age, the land offers distance as its main feature. Distances between shelter and food, between fuel and water, between the safe place where a fire lives and the quiet places where animals feed. In a landscape like this, every choice is a balance sheet written in calories. A single hour of walking on firm ground may cost as much energy as you could gain from a handful of nuts or a small piece of dried meat. If the snow is deeper, each step asks for more. If the wind rises, the cost grows again. The body pays immediately because heat is not a luxury. Heat is the quiet rent that must be paid to the air. Imagine you carry a layer of clothing made from stitched hides or woven plant fibers, softened with time and use, lined with hair that traps still air against your skin. The outer surface is smooth and sheds the wind. The inner layer is a softness like dry moss, comforting against the body's surface. Your hands are wrapped, your feet bundled. Around your shoulders, a heavy cloak rests like a patient animal. Each layer adds pockets of stillness, and it is the stillness that insulates. Heat cannot carry itself away if the air around you is motionless, and so you learn to love stillness of fabric, stillness of posture, the art of moving enough to maintain warmth, but not enough to pour your body's slow fire into the sky. The Ice Age. Sun walks a low arc. It rises reluctantly, glows without much enthusiasm, and drifts back toward the horizon as if content to leave the land to its long twilight. Days are shorter, nights are vast and calm. Under this quiet schedule, circadian rhythms shift toward patience. Creatures become unhurried cousins of themselves. Your own body hints at longer sleep, deeper and earlier. Melatonin leaks into the bloodstream like ink into water, darkening the quiet of the mind, easing you toward rest. The gentle rhythm continues, a long inhale and exhale wrapped around the day. Energy arrives slowly in this world. You bend to examine a tuft of grass, its bones tough and fibrous. The plant spent the brief summer stitching sunlight into cellulose, energy locked away in chains. That energy is not easily yours. You are a creature of tools and patience. A root, dug from frozen earth, offers starch but needs heat and time to become useful. Seeds carry dense potential, but they are small, scattered, guarded by husks. Nuts and acorns, when present, are a blessing capped in shells that your hands must crack. Ice Age food is not flashy. It hides and whispers. It asks for attention and gentle persistence. You follow a set of shallow tracks, looping and careful. A hare has passed this way. Its path is a drawing of economy, zigzagging only when it must, otherwise moving in a line that wastes nothing. The hare feeds on twigs and bark, its body tuned to extract calories from what looks like a handful of emptiness. Its fat is a quiet store, a lake under ice. A fox trails later, keeping distance and conserving energy. It walks more than it runs. It listens, pausing in the lee of small rises to let the wind deliver information. Even the hunter's hunger is a soft drumbeat, not a drum roll. The rhythm of survival here is measured not in chase scenes, but in small, careful decisions that support the next hour and the hour after that. The herd on the ridge, lets you draw closer. Mammoth-sized shadows shift slowly, great shoulders moving like dunes in a lazy breeze. The animals graze in patient arcs, finding the sparse grasses that have enough sugar and protein to make the effort worthwhile. Each mouthful is a coin in the budget. Their stomachs are elaborate, their digestion a thoughtful chemical conversation made for a world of tough fibre and cold. The heat of their bodies is a comfort. Standing near, you can almost feel how a thick coat and a deep barrel help them carry summer forward a few months longer. Even their footsteps are like heavy snow, packed with intention. In your hands, you imagine a small piece of dried meat, stringy and dense. It took time to cut thin and hang over a low fire. Time for smoke to lace its way through the fibers. Time for the water to leave and the flavor to become concentrated. This small piece is a memory of unhurried labor. Your body meets it as a slow conversation. First the mouth softens it, then the stomach unwraps its strands. Enzymes and acids take their time, moving steadily. Fat arrives like warm oil into the bloodstream, extended and calming. Protein is disassembled thoughtfully into parts that build and repair. There is nothing sudden in the way this food becomes you. It is a long, even tide. Shelter is almost always low. A snow wall, a hollow tucked behind a stand of dwarf willow, a lean-to of bones and bark with turf layered over. Inside, the air is warmer by a handful of degrees. A fire burns small and steady, coaxed into a deep bed of coals with minimal flame to reduce smoke and conserve fuel. The smell is soft and a little sweet, a blend of wood, grass, and the faint mineral scent of damp earth thawed at the edge of the hearth. Over the glow, a pot rests. In the pot, water slowly remembers its liquid nature. Melting snow consumes heat without changing temperature, patient and quiet. Each gram takes a fixed amount of energy before it yields and flows. A gentle, physical fact that matters in a place where fuel means hours spent finding twigs and branches. So you learn to add a little water to the pot first, to give the snow a way to become water with less fuss. Small tricks are gifts from many winter evenings. Water itself is a quiet ally and a soft adversary. In cold air, thirst hides behind the absence of sweat. The mouth feels dry but not insistent. It is easy to go too long without drinking. The body thickens the blood a little, the heart working just a fraction more. Lips chap. The skin at the corners of fingers grows tender. You check on yourself by routine rather than urgency. You sip warm water with a small pinch of salt. You listen to the small changes in how your fingers feel when you make a fist. You practice gentle care. When you step back outside, the long light of late afternoon is settling on everything like a thin blanket. The land glows from within with a pale warmth that is not heat. Snow catches this light and powders it across the plain. The quiet is complete but not empty. You can hear the tiniest sounds, like a bit of ice shedding from a branch, or the distant rasp of a raven's call that seems to come from the sky itself. You stand and let your body balance its heat and the air's request. Breathing in, the inner surfaces of your nose cool the warm air leaving you. Breathing out, you warm the air entering you, like two hands passing a cup back and forth. In a quiet world like this, even small mistakes carry weight. A glove left off for a minute too long while tying a knot can bring a bite of cold to a fingertip. Left unchecked, that bite deepens. Moisture is the truest thief of warmth. Dryness is safety. You learn to brush off snow before it melts on fabric. You learn to organize every action into a soft routine that preserves dryness and stillness. You choose to sit, to wrap, to breathe, to move, and you follow the sequence like a bedtime ritual that cares for you. Food has seasons. Summer and early autumn are a quiet storehouse. Berries blush and darken under low sun. Roots swell. Animals lay on fat. These are months of adding, of folding small packets of energy into caches and containers. In winter, everything unfolds slowly in the other direction. A jar of rendered fat is a candle that burns without light. A bag of dried tubers is a book that you read over many nights, a few pages at a time. A smoked fish that now sits like a dark plank once was silver and sleek and moved with quick rhythms under the surface of a cold river. You give thanks to the long lines that connect these moments. The idea of slow calories is more than a phrase. It is a way of living. In this landscape, you feel the pace at which light from a summer day moves through the chain of life until it warms your hands months later. A seed captures sun, becomes plant, becomes leaf, becomes fiber, becomes the food of an animal, becomes fat under a hide, becomes a bit of warmth in your chest as you stand under the stars. The chain is long and cushioned by quiet. Nothing here is a spike. There are gentle waves instead. The body likes this. Blood sugar curves are soft. Hunger blooms and fades like a cloud's shadow moving slowly across the ground. If you continue walking, you will find a frozen river laid out like a bright road. The surface is matte where snow dusts it, glossy where the wind has polished it. Under the ice, the water moves with its own calm confidence, deeper and slower than in summer. Oxygen is lower. Fish move fewer times and save their strength. Along the banks, willow wands hold buds that will open when the world tilts back toward warmth. You can cut a few lengths to bring back for basketry or bindings. Each has a gentle snap when it breaks. You imagine weaving a snug cradle for embers to carry fire safely from place to place. Even fire does not travel fast here. It moves as a companion in a covered bowl, nurtured with dry grass and a patient breath. Thermal boundaries in the body are also places of quiet art. The skin, with its fine nerves, keeps you in conversation with the air. The thin layer of air just above the skin, trapped by fabric, acts like an invisible coat. Your core, the place where the most delicate processes happen, enjoys a temperature window that permits everything to hum along. Blood flows through loops, tightening and loosening, saving heat here, releasing it there. In cold, the vessels of the skin narrow. Hands and feet ask for warmth now and then, and you respond by moving them gently, making a fist, and then opening the fingers, rolling the ankles, placing the soles of your feet on the earth for a moment, and then lifting them again. Nothing hurried. The gentle rhythm continues. If a storm approaches, there is little thunder. The clouds arrive as a mass, spreading like a blanket, making the day smaller and closer. Snow falls as if testing each spot on the ground. You listen to the texture of the flakes. Dry snow hisses softly. Wet snow pads the land with almost no sound at all. The wind does not need to shout to be felt. It speaks through the balance of your body, through the way your clothing lies on your shoulders, through the small eddies at the corners of shelters where powder piles up. You secure the edge of a hide with a stone and feel the satisfying steadiness that follows. Across the foreland, the people of this time move like the animals, at the scale of memory and habit. They know where a spring stays open in the coldest nights. They know a stand of birch that sheds bark like thin, perfect paper, a gift for starting fires even when damp. They know a ridge where the snow is always shallower because the wind protects it. Each knowledge is a soft thread that, woven together, becomes the blanket of survival. There is little waste in their movements. Children learn the shape of cold through play and imitation, turning small chores into simple games that belong to the season. Laughter exists, but it is a quiet laughter, wrapped in scarves and shared close. Night arrives, wide and clean. Stars come forward in a number that modern city eyes rarely see. The river of the Milky Way lies like frosted breath across the sky. A faint aurora might shiver along the northern edge, green like the inside of a leaf. In such a stillness, sound travels gently but far. A wolf's call moves like a ribbon over the ridge and unrolls across the valley. You do not feel dread, you feel orientation. The voice says, there is life in all directions, stitched together by territory and need. You tuck your hands under the warm edge of your cloak and look upward. The body uses a little less energy when you stand still and look. And in the Ice Age, even that small savings is an act of wisdom. The mathematics of warmth can be measured even while you rest. At rest, your body burns a quiet sum, a few dozen calories an hour, to keep the heart beating and the brain thinking slow thoughts and the lungs passing air in and out. In this cold, the total grows a little. If you begin to shiver, the number grows more. But shivering is a costly language, one that you prefer to speak only briefly. You would rather add a layer of fur at your shoulders, make the fire just a touch stronger, and drink something warm. A warm drink is a subtle friend. Even the heat it carries is a gift. You treat every choice as if you were a careful accountant of comfort. On the plane, scents are faint and fine-grained. The cold filters out much, leaving a profile of resin from a scrubby pine, a mineral note from the snow, a hint of distant musk from the herd. The nose adjusts and learns to appreciate the elegance of minimal information. The eyes do the same. They find interest in gradients of light and in the way a curve of snow reveals the last direction of the wind. They enjoy the small shine on the lip of a drift when the sun is low, the way each crystal's face smiles for a moment and then moves on. Hunger in the Ice Age is not necessarily a sharp pang. It is more like a steady pressure, a gentle reminder that the body is in conversation with the day. When you respond, you do it with foods that travel slowly into the bloodstream. Fats and proteins take their time, and they guide the body to release hormones that say, yes, this is enough. We can continue. Fiber slows everything further, smoothing the path. The mind remains even and clear when energy comes in a long wave form. This is not a place for spikes and crashes. It is a place where gentle hills are easier on the knees. There is a common saying among those who live with cold that you always carry your stove with you. The stove is your metabolism, and like any good stove, it likes steady fuel. Not too little, not too much, not too fast. In the Ice Age, feeding that stove is an art. If you travel, you might tuck a bit of rendered fat in a small container made from bone or birch. It is plain but profound. A thin slice dissolves on the tongue and glows for a long time after. You might carry a small cake of ground seeds and berries, held together with tallow. It tastes like the memory of summer, and it works with your body like a trusted friend. Walking beside an animal trail, you notice scat that contains many tiny fragments of plant. You learn to read these small messages. They tell you what is still available on the land, what has grown thin, where a herd has recently passed. If bones are found from an old carcass, they still have value. Marrow inside long bones remains a precious pocket of energy that the cold has preserved. With a stone and patience, you can open a window into the inner pantry of the animal. Nothing is wasted. The calories that sleep in bone become a part of you, and you give thanks for the seamlessness of the exchange. Hands are your primary tools, and keeping them warm is an ongoing craft. Mittens are better than gloves because fingers share heat more kindly than they do when separated. You wear a thin liner inside, so that if you must uncover the outer mitten briefly, your skin is still protected. Every motion anticipates the next. You arrange the wood before you take your hand out. You set the pot within easy reach. You rehearse the small sequence in your mind. Then you do it. Then you restore the mitten to its place. The ritual is calming. It reduces errors. It smooths time. From time to time, you touch a piece of metal. It is a rare material here, and if it exists, it is precious, perhaps a trade object or a rare find. Metal is a thief of heat, cold to the touch, and eager to draw warmth from the skin. Bone and wood are kinder companions in this season. Stone tools also feel friendlier. They take up less heat and return it more gently. You adapt without complaint. You choose the tools that match the world, and the world responds by spending less of your energy. In the quiet of evening, inside a shelter trimmed with heaped snow along the bottom edges of the walls, you sit by the glow of coals. Light from fire is low and red, kind to night-dilated eyes. Shadows are soft. You hear small crackles as sap pockets find their voice. A dried herb bundle hangs nearby, releasing a mild scent when warmed. The roof is low enough so that the heat from the coals makes a warm pool in the air under it. The thought of sleep arises as a gentle tide. Before you lie down, you eat a little. The calories are slow and will keep your core even through the night. You drink a sip or two of warm water, enough to ease the throat, but not so much that the body will need to wake you. The gentle rhythm continues. Out under the stars, other creatures also find their rest. A ptarmigan tucks its head under a wing, a small circle of feathers pressed smooth by the wind. A vole burrows into the snow itself, a milky igloo that holds warmth closer than the night air. A fox curls tail to nose, a comma written in white on white. The land and its inhabitants share a simple understanding. Move when needed, not when bored. Eat what nourishes, not what merely entices. Store when there is extra, spend when there is need. These are the rules that feel less like instructions and more like the pulse of life itself in this place. It is easy to see how a modern body, used to warmth and immediate food, would find this first day daunting. Without the learned rituals and the inherited maps of fuel, water and shelter, the cold would take more than it gives. Breathing would be fine, but the small muscles of the neck would begin to feel the air's request. Ankles would move more carefully on uneven frozen ground. Fingers would tire from managing tasks while protected inside thick layers. The mind might wander toward the idea of letting things slide, of waiting until later. But later in a cold landscape is a different creature. Later is not a place to keep unpaid promises. In this world, habit becomes a kind friend, guiding hands through motions that keep warmth close and hunger satisfied slowly and well. If you listen, you can hear time in the layers of ice themselves. River ice forms in plates that slide and knit. Lake ice holds bubbles like trapped moons. Glaciers far away grind mountains into fine flour over lifetimes of snowfall. All of this movement is glacial in the truest sense, patient and unstoppable. The result is a landscape that breeds the same trait in those who live here. Patience becomes the central muscle. Being strong means being willing to fold your days around the weather and the fuel and the food. To let each day teach you what is available without fighting. The body relaxes into this once it trusts that the slow path still leads home. Your shelter has a door flap that opens to the east. Morning arrives in soft layers of light. Snow crystals shine and then fade as the sun lifts, as if they are blinking hello and then nodding off again. You step outside and breathe air that has been washed by night. Somewhere, a raven speaks once, as if checking that the world is still where it should be. You answer without words, by simply standing and listening. This is part of the ritual too. Your heart rate stays low. Your blood moves evenly. Your mind allows tiny thoughts of plans to arise and pass. You drift through the morning with the same gentle pace as a person floating down a stream, turning slowly to see each bank in turn. Fuel for the fire comes in varying qualities. Twigs with resin burn hot and quickly. Hard wood burns longer, with quieter flames and deeper coals. Dried dung, when the land offers it, is humble and valuable, a slow, steady burn with little smoke if carefully tended. Peat cut from a bog and dried over weeks offers a different scent and a long-lived glow. In cold months, you become a connoisseur of slowness in fuel. You notice how a small change in airflow alters the sound of the burn and the shape of the flame. You choose coals over flames for cooking, because coals are patient, because they do not make food nervous. A pot simmering on coals is a small lesson in how to live here. Everything important is permitted to take time. Food webs in the Ice Age are broad and elegant, like lace. Lichen harvests light in freehand designs on rocks and birch and the ground. Reindeer trace these designs with their mouths, careful and steady. Wolves trace the reindeer, not as a straight line, but as a neighboring pattern that sometimes overlaps. Bears step in and out of the pattern seasonally, their metabolism shifting gears as the year leans towards sleep and then toward wakefulness again. Small mammals dot the design like commas and periods, tiny pauses in the sentence of the step. Humans step through this lace without tearing it when they can, choosing patience, choosing relationship over suddenness. This is not romance. It is practicality delivered in soft packaging. The system works better when each part treats the others as future neighbors rather than moments to be plundered. Even tools carry a quiet ethic, a scraper for hides that fits the hand perfectly, a needle carved from bone that slides through sinew and thread without fuss, a sling that arcs a stone with simple grace. These are not flashy, and in the Ice Age, that modesty is a virtue. Repairs are routine. A stitch here, a resharpened edge there. The reward for care is reliability, and the reward for reliability is less energy spent, fewer surprises, more time to look at the sky and think about nothing at all, which is its own kind of nourishment. Imagination can be a kind of warmth. You sit and picture a summer day on this same plain. The grasses move in broad sweeps, as if brushed by an invisible hand. Snow still hides in shadowed cradles under rocks. A stream runs open, undercutting the bank to reveal roots like thin fingers. The air smells of wet earth, the first rich scent after months of clean ice. Berries shine like tiny lanterns in thickets. Animals move a little quicker. There is a sense of permission in the land. You feel that permission inside too. You collect more than you need and you store it. You practice gratitude because gratitude is efficient. It helps the mind focus on what is available, not what is missing. That focus saves energy as well. The middle of a long season can feel like a wide, flat country with distant edges. To keep spirits steady, people tell stories, not dramatic epics, but memory guides. A story about how a certain path always finds a certain stand of willow when the snow is thin. A story about how a certain bird's call predicts the wind turning. These are stories told near embers that glow like small suns. The sound of a voice is soft and rhythmic. It carries knowledge into the group without asking for argument or excitement. It sets a pace for thought that matches the pace of the land. Still awake, comment the secret word, nebula. The middle of our quiet walk is a good place to consider how the body uses time for health in this cold. Sleep stretches. It might arrive early, in layers. There is time to lie down near dusk and drift into a first sleep. Wake gently in the night to tend the fire or look at the sky or speak in whispers, and then return to a second sleep that cradles the body until morning. This segmented rest matches the way the mind and hormones flow in a long night. It allows dreams to come and go without hurry. It encourages learning to settle into deep memory. Even waking at night is not a disturbance here. It is a feature that lets you sip water, add a breath to the coals, and slide back under the cover of furs with gratitude. Those furs are layers of past summers. The hair captures still air. The hides hold shapes. Together with woven plant fibers and leather ties, they form a small weather system of your own that sits over your skin and moves with you. Learning how to wear them is part of daily practice. You tilt your hood just so to make a small bubble of warm air in front of your mouth. You tuck your scarf to cover the gap at your neck. You tie your boots in a way that allows air to stay around your toes. None of it is decorative. All of it is soothing. The ritual repeats each day until it takes no thought at all. When you prepare food, you lean toward methods that soften and preserve. A stone warmed in the fire can be dropped into a skin bag of water to simmer roots slowly without evaporating much liquid. Fish can be brined, then smoked over days, so that every ounce earned on a hard winter river becomes a long gift through spring. Meat can be sliced thin and wind-dried on frames that creak softly. Seeds can be ground with a round stone into meal that catches the nose with a nutty scent. Each method is a kind of conversation with time and temperature. You invite slow change. You avoid bright, rushed heat, except in rare moments when you need it to cleanse or to celebrate. The mathematics of melting snow, although simple, feels personal when fuel is precious. Each pot of snow asks for a generous handful of coals and a patient stir to keep the top from crusting as the bottom liquefies. This encourages you to plan. You set snow to melt while doing other tasks, using the time between to scrape a hide or mend a seam, or rub oil into a dry piece of wood to keep it from cracking. The day becomes a gentle braid of activities that support one another. When you work like this, time itself feels kind. It stretches and narrows in ways that match your needs. On certain days, wind shapes the surface of the snow into long combed patterns called sastrugi. These stiff ripples tell a story about the direction and constancy of the wind. They can guide your feet to path lines that are easier to walk. You learn the fine language of such features. The snow's edges point like arrowheads. The smoother sides align with the wind's travel. You step lightly along the troughs where the footing is more predictable. This is another example of saving energy, not with force, but with observation. Seeing well is a form of nourishment here. It feeds smart choices. Smart choices feed warmth and steady blood sugar and calm thought. There are also quiet traps hidden by beauty. Sun dogs flank the low winter sun, bright patches like ghost suns, created by ice crystals in the air. They are a wonder, but they appear when the cold is deep, when air is dry and ready to slide through clothing like silk. You enjoy them for a moment, then draw your scarf closer. The aurora shivers green and white. It is breathtaking, and yet the breath you take cools you and carries water away with it. You take a smaller breath next time and keep the rhythm smooth. All is allowed. Self-care too. A cluster of stones at a small rise offers a library of temperatures in the way each face catches light. You sit on the side that the wind ignores. The cold is sharp but not cruel when you have chosen your position well. In your lap, you hold a simple bundle of foods, a few pieces of dried meat, a small cake of rendered fat with crushed berries, a sliver of frozen fish that you let thaw slowly near the coals before eating. The flavors are mild but pleasing, and the feeling after is better than the taste itself. It is a feeling of quiet competence, which is the signature pleasure of living through a cold day. There is no grand moment. There is an even thread of yes running through all your acts. Over long stretches of time, glacial climates breathe in and out, guided by the tilt and wobble of the planet and the shape of its orbit. Inhale means ice grows and the world cools. Exhale means ice retreats and warmth returns to places that have forgotten it for a while. People adapt by moving gently along the edges of these changes. The edges are where life likes to collect. Rivers bring fish. Forest edges bring berries. Plains edges bring herds. You become a friend of edges and learn to sleep lightly on borders that shift with seasons, with winds, with years. The soft lesson is that certainty is not your main tool here. Attention is your best tool. It gathers quiet facts and arranges them into a nest. Thinking about calories in this world is a way of caring for yourself. A handful of pine nuts could carry more energy than a bowl of broth. A strip of mammoth fat might keep your hands warm for hours. Roots provide steady sugars when cooked until tender, turning starches into forms that your gut can welcome without protest. Berries gift vitamins that keep the mouth and skin healthy through months when fresh green things are rare. Each food is both fuel and medicine. You attend to balance as if arranging stones in a wall. Too much protein without enough fat makes you feel empty no matter how full your stomach is. Too much fat without minerals and fiber leaves you feeling dull. The right mix creates a calm in the nerves that is the body's word for satisfaction. From time to time, you find caches left by others. A bundle of sticks stacked in a way that says it was not the wind. A small pile of stones that marks a root storage pit. A few bones cleaned and laid in a pattern that points to an idea only those who know the code can read. You leave them be, or you take a small part and leave something in return, because cooperation is the backup plan in a world that rarely delivers excess. Life in the cold makes generosity practical. Shared knowledge and shared stores reduce risk for everyone. There are no loud declarations about this. It is done quietly. The effect is no drama later, which is worth more than any flourish now. Your body carries a memory of warmth that you can call on. If cold reaches fingers or toes, you can choose to move a larger muscle group, like the legs or the back, for a few minutes. The warmth generated there travels through the blood to the extremities more efficiently than rapid finger movement alone. This is another gentle secret of living before central heating. You think in terms of whole body conversations, not local arguments. The body appreciates this approach. It calms and complies. Even human voices adapt to the environment. Speech grows measured. There is less need to fill the space with sound. When someone speaks, it is with the softness of someone who knows air carries words across snow perfectly well. The result is a community shaped by deliberate tones. Children learn to listen, not for volume, but for meaning. They learn to use their eyes to read faces and hands. Silence is not a gap to be filled. It is a useful weather that does a job. Tools for hunting and for foraging are built and used with the same patient touch. A net is mended with string made from twisted plant fibers or sinew, each twist polished between finger and thumb. A spear shaft is straightened by heating and bending in small degrees. A trap for small game is constructed from bent branches and cord, checked regularly to limit suffering and to ensure food remains fresh. A digging stick for roots is hardened in fire until its point resists chipping in frost-hardened ground. In all of this, you see a preference for reliability. An object that does what it promises is cherished. The fewer surprises in a day, the more even your breath stays. The warmer your core, the clearer your mind. The lesson of clothing continues through the season. Wool, fur, feathers, woven grasses, all trap still air. That is the main thing. Water is taken seriously. Snow brushed away vigorously before it has a chance to melt is not just habit, it is insurance. You mind the junctions where heat tends to leak. The wrists, the ankles, the neck, the waist. You treat these places as doors in the house of your warmth and make sure they close softly and fully. A belt tightened just enough. A cuff folded just right, a scarf tucked rather than tied, so it can be adjusted as the day asks. In the deepest part of winter, light comes late and leaves early. You find that small projects expand to fill the evenings, making a new set of ties for boots, braiding cord, shaping a new spoon. The spoon is an emblem of patience. It starts as a chunk of wood. It becomes a handle and a bowl. It becomes smooth. It becomes something that fits your hand, like it was always meant to be there. When you finally eat with it, the food tastes like a promise kept. This is the mood of the Ice Age at its best. It rewards faithfulness to small tasks with comfort that reaches the bones. Now and then, weather invites the body to rest more fully for a day. Blowing snow reduces visibility to the distance of your own feet. You choose indoor work. You sit with those you live with, and you trade light labor for stories. You hum quietly. You feel your heart beating in your chest through thick clothing, and you think about the fuel that feeds it. You feel grateful for the dried fruits tied in bunches from the rafters, for the fat stored in clean containers, for the fish that still carries the taste of smoke. Gratitude keeps your mind from wandering toward complaint, which serves no purpose here. The body responds to this mental tone with softer shoulders and deeper breaths. Calm is energy sparing. On clear days, when the sun is a white disk and the air is dry enough to sparkle, shadows lie sharp on the snow. The angle of the sun makes them long and blue. You can tell the time by their length. You can orient by their direction. Such navigation becomes second nature. Knowing where you are without thinking saves calories that might otherwise be spent in anxiety or in backtracking. Out on the plain, you can sometimes see a dusting of snow lifted by wind and drifting like a ghost along the surface. That is not dangerous. It is information. It tells you that somewhere upwind there is a gap in the terrain. You use such hints as if they were friendly notes left along your path. Food choices continue to teach. Lean meat is clean, but it does not warm you alone. Fat must join it. A stew that includes marrow or tallow smooths the day. Berries or small amounts of preserved greens keep your mouth comfortable and your gums strong. A root roasted for a long time becomes sweet enough to feel luxurious. You eat slowly, not because there is endless time, but because you have learned that your body hears fullness in a gentle voice. If you rush, your body replies with confusion. If you pause, your body says thank you. The muscles of your legs develop a very particular strength from walking across uneven frozen ground. They learn to hold you stable when a crust of snow breaks and your foot sinks an extra inch. They learn to step high enough to clear drifts without lifting too much any one time. There is an elegance to this learned movement. You can see it in the way people of the cold stand and move. Every motion is a measured allowance, a respect for gravity and for the cost of heat. You do not fight the land. You glide over it as well as you can, using knowledge to reduce friction and surprise. When a thaw comes, even briefly, The air smells like a letter from a friend. The snow surface softens just enough to deform when you step. Water forms in small depressions, reflecting the sky in tiny mirrors. It is tempting to rush out and revel in this, but you have learned to keep to your pace. Thaws can be followed by a snap back to deep cold, and wet clothing under that snap is a risk. You enjoy the change with careful steps and attentive eyes. You pick paths that avoid slush. You turn your face to the sun and let it warm you, letting the heat sink into your clothing like a stored joy. If you think about distance in terms of food, a quiet arithmetic emerges. A day's walk must be paid for by a day's food, plus enough to support the heat of sleeping and the energy for chores. If you plan a journey, you lay out meals in your head along the path, placing caches in the mind where real caches will be left ahead of time, or where the land promises something edible. This is not stress, it is reassurance. The plan hums in the background, freeing the mind for the kind of attention that notices a pale root peeking from a patch of earth or the sound of water under ice. Planning in this world is a way of being kind to your future self. In rare moments, something easy happens. A cluster of berries ripens together within reach of a sheltered spot. A small fish lake offers clear ice that lets you see movement and place your spear with gentle accuracy. A fallen animal is found in a state that still allows use of meat and hide. When these moments come, you respect them by treating them well. You do not boast. You do not, in your mind, spend the fortune before it is fully in hand. You do the tasks with the same measured hands you use when things are less simple. Consistency itself is a kind of shelter. The night of deep winter can last a very long time. Your mind meets this with rituals that soothe and anchor. Perhaps a string of beads rests beside your bed, each bead a day set aside for a thought. You run your fingers along and remember something gentle for each. Perhaps a small pattern is carved into the handle of a tool, and you trace it as you fall asleep, knowing the curves by heart. Touch is a friend to sleep. The body relaxes when hands do something familiar and harmless. The fire drowses too, but you bank it with care. Coals under ash hold heat like a sleeping animal, ready to wake without complaint in the morning under a few breaths and a small gift of tinder. In a world where you cannot rush, you develop delight in precise, small things. The sound a good bone needle makes, passing through hide. The readiness of a properly dried twig to flame under a spark. The way a tight seam lies flat under your palm. The evenness of a cord braided without thinking. These details become more than tasks. They are visible proof that your days fit together into something, that they interlock like the scales on a fish or the plates on a pine cone. It feels good. It feels calm. It keeps the mind from reaching outward toward the impossible and brings it back to the small, actionable gift in your lap. If strangers appear on the horizon, they move slowly too. The etiquette of the cold is careful and kind. People approach with hands visible. They stop far enough away to show respect. Words are traded like warm bread, offered and accepted one at a time. Shared fires are possible. Shared food even more so. The land is too large and the margin too thin to support hostility as a first move. Instead, cooperation is treated as default. The result is a social fabric with strong seams. Trust does not need to be dramatic. It grows like frost, crystal by crystal, until it holds its shape. Some afternoons, light at a low angle turns every breath into silk. You watch as the air itself seems full of tiny mirrors. Each exhale becomes a cloud drifting down, reluctantly leaving your warm body for the open plain. You think about how much energy hides in those small moments. You think about the calories you are losing in exchange for life, the gentle cost you pay to simply be here. Thinking like this is not anxiety producing. It is the mind's version of tucking in the edges of a blanket. It comforts. It plans without fanfare. The idea that a modern person would not last a day here without preparation is not a judgment. It is a tribute to the training this world requires and to the skill those who lived here carried in their bodies and in their hands. Training means the motions of making warmth and saving warmth are as natural as breathing. It means senses turned towards small signals. It means an inventory of foods, not by craving, but by function. It means an understanding that excitement is expensive and boredom is economical. These are not values that modern days encourage, and that is fine. In this hour, though, imagining them allows your mind to rest. It replaces the noise of modern urgency with the hush of patient usefulness. Let yourself return, now and then, to the river of starlight above. The Milky Way holds its pose. It flows even if you stand still. That flow reminds you that very large systems take their time. Glaciers, seasons, the slow changes in animals and plants, the equally slow changes inside you. Your heart settles to meet that pace. Your shoulders relax. Your jaw loosens. The breath that you take now is deeper and kinder than the one before. The body is busy, but it does not feel frantic. It feels like a companion in a long, thoughtful walk. In morning again, frost has grown at the edges of everything, like small ferns on stone and leather. You touch them, and they vanish, subliming to the air. This makes you aware of how your own heat gently shapes the world within arm's reach. Every object near you has a small warm story written on it, tiny changes that add up to comfort. A sleeping fur bears frost where your breath met it. The door flap is a little stiffer from the cold and softens once your hands warm it. The bowl you use for drinking is warmer than the rest of the room because it last held liquid that carried heat. These reminders help you respect the simple fact that your presence is not nothing. It is a source of order. Sleep in a cold world is not accidental. It is prepared. You lay down a bed of dry material, perhaps dried grasses, raised a hand's breadth above the ground, to escape the slow draw of cold earth. Over that, hides and woven cloth, arranged so that seams do not meet in the same place, preventing lines of heat loss. You place a warm stone at your feet, wrapped so it does not burn, releasing its slow stored sun through the night. You cover yourself, leaving small channels for air so that moisture can leave without condensing on your face. Each of these small decisions adds up to hours of rest that nourish you. You wake not because cold insists that you do, but because morning arrives and touches your closed eyelids with light. The architecture of calories and heat is the architecture of the day. It is a building you move through, one room at a time, each room matching an activity. Gathering fuel is one room, preparing food another, mending a third, walking the open plain yet another. Rest has its own room, with a door that closes quietly behind you when it is time. Living like this disciplines your time into gentle segments. There is drama here if you demand it. There is also a deep calm if you accept the simple logic that governs the place. That calm is the gift you can bring back to your own pillow now. When the wind rises, you turn your side to it, reducing your surface. When the wind falls, you open your chest and enjoy the easy air. When clouds gather, you add a layer just before the chill arrives. When they lift, you remove it just after the warmth returns. You ride changes slightly ahead and slightly behind, staying in the smoothest part of the wave. It is a skill, and like all skills, it becomes a comforting habit. This habit is the opposite of struggle. It is a dance that looks like stillness. In your hand, you hold a small pouch of salt. Salt matters for nerves and muscles. It makes food taste like itself. In a place where sweating is less obvious, salt can still leave you through work and through time. You use it lightly, like a friend you do not want to tire out. A pinch into a pot of melted snow gives your body a reason to keep that water. A sprinkle on a root coaxes sweetness forward. Tiny details support big outcomes. In the cold, this is a repeated lesson. Do the small things well, and the big things become less big. At the edges of the day, the animals resume their quiet lines. Birds move between shrubs in low arcs, saving the effort of high flight. The herd shifts from one patch to another, not because this one is dramatically better, but because even small differences in the cover of wind or the touch of sun have value. You see the theme again: economy without austerity, prudence without fear, patience without resignation. These words can sound heavy, but in practice they are light. They float you through the hours like a sledge on packed snow. When the season finally casts its eyes towards spring with seriousness, you feel it in your bones. The light lingers after supper. The snow compresses and grows crusted so that morning walks can skim the surface. Water appears where there was only ice. The smell of damp earth returns in earnest. There is a quickening, but even then the world advises moderation. Early warmth invites growth that the next cold snap can nip. You pace yourself. You continue to favor slow calories, and even heat. You allow change to arrive like a friend you get to know over weeks, rather than a guest who bursts in and demands attention. As the day's walk ends and the evening returns, you carry your imagined harvest back to shelter. A few sticks, a handful of small, useful items, a mind full of small observations that will make tomorrow easier. You kneel and feed the coals. You watch as flame lifts up a little and then settles back into a comfortable conversation with the wood. The room warms by degrees. You spread out the food, you cook, you eat. Each bite is a small promise kept to your body. You are storing light in your bones again, and this pleases something ancient inside you. Outside, the stars return to their familiar places. The aurora may sing, or it may not. The cold is no louder than before. Inside, your shelter carries the smell of smoke and wool and the faintest sweetness from the last dinner. You lay down the bed and climb into its comfort. The slow beating of your heart, the gentle easing of your breath, the subtle warmth blooming in your core from tonight's food. All of this is the opposite of drama. It is the body agreeing with the world that rest is now appropriate and useful. The gentle rhythm continues, as it always does when we allow it to. If you look back at this Ice Age day from the softness of your pillow, what you carry home is not the hardship. You carry the instructions written in a calm hand. Move slowly when slowness serves you. Choose foods that keep you steady. Adjust layers as if you were tuning an instrument. Bank your fire so it wakes ready to help you tomorrow. Listen for small signals. Trust routine. None of these ideas are loud. All of them help you fall asleep. You can return to this plane any time that modern life feels restless. Close your eyes and feel the faint grit of snow underfoot that gets into every seam and corner. Hear the breath of wind over open land. See the long shadows and the quiet glow on the horizon. Taste something simple and nourishing. Remember that even in a cold older than memory, people found ways to live gently and well by surrendering to the pace of the land. That surrender can be practiced now in a warm bed with a quiet room around you. As you drift, let your hands soften. Let your eyelids grow heavy. Let your jaw relax. Let your shoulders sink. The land around you is stable. The cold is outside, far away in time, and tonight, the only job is rest. If this gentle science has helped you unwind, please like the video. Subscribe so we can keep releasing these calm journeys often. And know that you are safe, warm, and welcome to drift into sleep now.